In the book of Devarim, we read, רק ישמר לך ושמור נפשך מאוד, פן תשכח את הדברים אשר ראו עיניך, ופן יסורו מלבבך כל ימי חייך, ועודתם לבניך ולבני בניך. There is a mitzvah to remember מעמד הר סיני. מצווה דאורייתא. Ramban says it's a mitzvah דאורייתא בכל יום מעמד הר סיני. That means what's so important about מעמד הר סיני? הרי נו במשוך היובל הם יעלו בהר. Remember the Kabbalat Torah. What's the Ma'amad Har Sinai, which all went round it, Kolot, Brakim. It's so important, all the details and all of that. So it says in the Torah, a bit later on, after a few psukim, Hakel et ha'am, ve'eshmahem et dvarai asher yilmedun le'ira oti kol ha'yamim asher hem chaim al adama ve'et benehem yelamedun. That means we have a mitzvah further to teach our children Ma'amad Har Sinai. There's an inyan. The Rambam in Igeret Teman, he writes clearly, and I bring his Lashon. The Rambam writes, Rambam Maimoni. כתב הרמב"ם in Igeret Teman, ראוי לכם אחינו שתגדלו ביניכם על המעמד ההוא הגדול. When you raise your children, talk to them about Ma'amad Har Sinai, not just about the Torah, about the Ma'amad Har Sinai, and how all of us were there, how the Shishim Ribo witnessed Hashem coming on Har Sinai. Yeah? And it says, ותספרו בכל קהל, בתוך קהל ועדה, תספרו. Say the story of Ma'amad Har Sinai at every opportunity you have. The Rambam is telling the Igeret Teman, when there were anusim and there were people forcing them to leave their religion. גדולתו והדרו שהוא עמוד שהאמונה סובבת עליו והטענה המביאה לידי אמת. That means the Ma'amad Har Sinai somehow strengthens the amitut, the truthness of our tradition, of our Torah הקדושה. וגודל המעמד, כל הקדוש, כמו שגידלו הקדוש ברוך הוא, שנאמר, כי שאל נא לימים ראשונים, and I tell you, so the Chinuch writes, our emunah and our trust that the Torah is emet is not based on rationalism or theories or any proof which we can prove. It's basically emunah which we received from our parents. The Ibn Ezra says a father will never tell his child something which might not be 100% true. If he did, he'll tell him. But if he'll only give him things confident, 100% true, that's what he'll give him. No father wants to lie to his son. Says the Chinuch, the more people who testify something, the more true what the testifying is. The more witnesses, the stronger it is. And that's exactly what happened. Hashem says, I'm not going to reveal just to Moshe Rabbeinu, and I'm not going to base the emunah of the Jewish people just from hearing from Moshe Rabbeinu. I'm going to make sure there'll be an occurrence of 600, all of you watching me coming on Har Sinai. So now, what will happen? What's the outcome of this? So many Edim pass it on to the next generation. Now, which father will tell a lie to his son? Because you're not going to fabricate something that you know what happened to me. I was in the mountain and I saw God. Oh, the mountain, what God, what you told. If it wasn't 100% true, now they pass it on to their children, So today our emunah is established not on rayot which we have in the Torah and starting to find different ochachot, snapil, kaskeset, kol sheyesh, kol b'chazal tell us. That's not. Our emunah stands on the fact that we received in tradition from our ancestors and our ancestors from our ancestors all the way to the people who were actually standing and watching them. That's what the Ibn Ezra also writes. This guarantees that a father will never say something which is not true to his child. So Ma'amad Har Sinai is very important to that thing. Now, we spoke about the subject last week about why HaKadosh Baruch Hu waited to go out to the Midbar to give the Torah and then give it to Mitzrayim. But there's an interesting pasuk which we have in Yetziat Mitzrayim, which we have before Ma'amad Har Sinai. It says in the pasuk, "B'chodesh hashelishi, letzet bnei Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim, bayom hazeh ba'u midbar Sinai." So it describes Ba'u. So we all know they came to Har Sinai. Midbar Sinai. Sorry. Vayayitzu mirefidim. Then it says Vayavohu again Midbar Sinai. Vayachanu b'midbar. So there's two expressions. There is Vayavohu and there is Vayachanu. And then the Torah says Vayichan sham Yisrael neged ha'ar. So we all know Vayichan means Lashon Yachid, Keish Echad, Belev Echad, like one. It's interesting. The first time it says Vayachanu. And then the second time it says, Vayichan Sham Israel. So if you want...
After they went to Refidim?
Yeah, they went, it says, Vayisu Merefidim, after Melchemet Amalek, Vayavohu Midbar Sinai. So it says Vayavohu plural, then it says Vayachanu plural, and then it says Vayichan Sham. So it changed from plural to singular. So that means when they actually arrived, there was something about no unity or something. Something disturbed the unity. It says it Belashon Rabim. So let me explain. Yeah.
The question is, why does it say Vayavo if we have to see ourselves of being there ourselves?
No, we have to say that our ancestors were there. Our ancestors were there. Maybe we'll be able to explain this. So it says, Vayavo, Vayachanu, Vayichan. Let's just understand what is these two expressions of coming to a place. Vayachanu is menucha, melashon menucha, and then Vayichan Sham Yisrael. Let's try and understand these three ideas. Yeah. Now we need to see what the shoresh of the word Vayachanu means. Vayachanu comes from lashon menucha, resting. Take away all disturbances. Don't let anything distract you. That's the best menucha you can possibly have. It says by Yaakov Avinu, Vayavo Yaakov Shalem Ir Shechem, Vayichan et Pnei Ha'ir. Right? So Shalem, Shlemut, brings into rest. The Jewish people, when they came out of Mitzrayim, they came out with a lot of nonsense in their heads. It wasn't so simple. They came out from the Tumah of Mitzrayim. Only a few weeks after, they end up in Midbar Sinai. But the Ma'ala of a Midbar is, you have no distractions. Nothing disturbing you. The Vayavo is actually plural. Because at the time they came, they were not really, they were Vayavo. They were not really in that frame of mind of, it says Vayachanu. Once they got to the Midbar and they got rid of any of the Avodah Zarah and if the Tum'ah and if the ideology which they had back in Mitzrayim, then comes the Menucha. When a person is taken away and all his desire is to be close to Hashem, then you have an ability of Vayichan. Then the Jewish people can unite. There's no jealousy, there's no disturbance, because what causes jealousy? When you're running after physicality, when you're running after stupidities. So he's taking from me, I feel he's treading on my this. But when a person rests, and when I say menucha means he comes to the midbar and he takes away from all his da'agot of olam hazeh, all this world, this materialism, he puts it aside, then he's got the ability of actually sharing with others and being united as one Vayichan Israel. So Hashem looks for the midbar to actually give the Torah to the Jewish people. Because it's Vayavo, plural, is Vayachanu. Because the purpose of coming to Midbar Sinai was for menucha, was for resting, was for taking away all the distractions which were in the world. They were totally now in a new, just them and Hashem. Nothing going on other than that. All the busy is, like it says, the Yitro came all the way from where? Came to the Midbar. Makom asher hu choneh sham, hara Elohim. Because the Makom Chanaya of Hashem is in a place where you have no other material disturbances. When you've got Gashmiut disturbing, that's not the Makom Menucha, the Shekhinah of Hashem. Yeah? This gives us an idea why in Yerushalayim is עומדים צפופים ומשתחווים מרובחים. מעולם לא עמד אדם צר לי המקום הזה, like in פרקי אבות. No one said there was no space. Because when you're coming to the Machaneh Shekhinah, you take away, you're not coming for your own interest. You're not looking for the best hotel. It's funny enough, you see people to get into Yerushalayim, they tell you, I went to the Waldorf, I went to the Citadel, I went to this hotel. I says, my dear friend, if you're still looking in Yerushalayim for those hotels, it's a sign you haven't reached the real Yerushalayim. That's not the real. And when people came to Yerushalayim, they didn't look for any comforts because they came for the sake of Hashem. When you come for real menucha and to be close to Hashem, then me'olam lo amar adam tzar li hamakom. They can vayichan sham Yisrael neged aham. Then it's keish echad belev echad. Shavuot is the source.
How'd you go from Yachanu to Yachan?
Because at the time you come, you look for the menucha as vayachanu. You come for the purpose of doing menucha. But at the time you come, you're still not with that. You're still holding on. It's only when you actually start resting in Midbar Sinai and you see there's nothing distracting you, there's nothing disturbing you, then you come to the Menucha, you come to Vayichan. At the time they came all with different interests.
That was
Or now,
Vayavo.
that is Vayachanu. Vayavo, Vayachanu. Vayavo, Vayachanu. Because the Vayavo is all plural, and then they come to the looking for Menucha. It says Vayachanu. Until they finally reach the inyan of Menucha, then it's Vayichan Sham Israel, Keish Echad Belev Echad. It's interesting to point out, and I pointed out in the past on Pesach, and the Sifri brings, where's the source for Simcha on Pesach? It doesn't say V'samachta by Pesach. V'chagecha is Lashon Chagiga. That's said by Sukkot, V'samachta v'chagecha. So we learn, the Sifri says, that you learn Simcha on Pesach from Shavuot.
Shavuot, not Sukkot.
Not from Sukkot, from Shavuot. That tells us that, yes, in Yetziat Mitzrayim, we got freedom of our bodies. We became free people. But Cherut and Nefesh, we didn't have in Yetziat Mitzrayim. We were still Meshubadim, subdued to the old nonsense in Mitzrayim. And it took us time. So therefore, Hashem says, you know what? Your Simcha of Pesach will be dependent on the Simcha of Shavuot. You need to learn it from Shavuot. When you get Cherut and Nefesh, when you get freedom of your soul, that's the Al Tikre Charut Ela Cherut. El Lecha Ben Chorim Ela Mi Sheosek B'Torah. The real freedom, when you're in charge of choice and you're really in control of choice, people mistakenly think that freedom is following the Yetzer Hara. Afuch, following the Yetzer Hara means you're being dragged along by something else. You're not in control of anything. Right? And you wonder why Goyim don't have Bechira the way we have. They don't have choice because they don't have the Torah. So why should they choose to do good? It's not easy. But the Torah gave us actual choice. And not only gave us choice, it gave us also being in control of choice. And that says, Al Tikre Charut Ela Cherut. It's real freedom. So the freedom of the Torah is what gives a person freedom. We say, you wait for the Simcha, you learn Simcha on Shavuot, it teaches on to Simcha on Pesach. Because Pesach is only betnai that we know that we are going to go to Shavuot and accept the Torah. So a person has got a choice on Shavuot to experience his freedom. This concept of Menucha. We don't have a Bet HaMikdash now. We may not be experiencing a Mamad Har Sinai the way it was experienced there, even though we should be learning it and thinking about it the way it was. However, we've still got the Torah. With the Torah, you can become a real Ben Chorim. When a person puts his life's interest into Torah and observance of Torah, he will see kin'ah, kavod, everything will fall off, will drift away. Because you have no room for yourself anymore. It's only for the sake of the Shekhinah of Hashem. And that gives us an opportunity to be real Bnei Chorim on Shavuot. So let's call this Chag the Freedom Chag. Today is a Freedom Chag. Shavuot will be Chag HaCherut, not Yetziat Mitzrayim. Yetziat Mitzrayim was a show of Cherut. It was a show because we were not really Cherut and Nafshit. The Cherut comes at Matan Torah. Yes, the Torah doesn't say commemorate Shavuot because of the Torah was given then. It doesn't say that. Nowhere in the Torah does it say Zman Matan Toratenu. But we say it in our tefillot. We know it is. Because we don't want this impression to be given to people that you only come on Leil Shavuot to learn and the rest of the year you don't come to learn Torah. No such thing. Torah is given every day. B'chol yom yotzet kol bat kol mi'ar chorev o elam el bona shel Torah. So therefore, no question, Torah is given every day. But for sure, it's Zman Matan Toratenu. Person has got an opportunity to get this feeling of freedom, of Cherut, on Shavuot more than any other day. And that's why the Shlach Kadosh goes into length with the whole idea of learning Torah on Shavuot, of how important it is. It's because you get an opportunity to experience a little bit of what was at Ma'amad Har Sinai, which that's when the Jewish people acquired real Cherut. And who doesn't want today freedom? But we know that the real Cherut is Cherut HaTorah. And here's your opportunity to be real free people with the Ola Torah.